All right, so this will be episode 3 of the Rewind series of videos that I'm doing. And as you know, TTSaleen Speed Shop started with the Saleen jacket. But long story short, this is a tough video for me because we're going to be talking about a yellow LX coupe that basically I found for Russ Richardson, and found it in Fuquay. A guy was selling it. It was like a crackhead deal. It was a 4-cylinder car that had been painted. It had nice wheels and stuff on it, and the guy was just dumping it because I think he had a drug habit. But anyway, he called me, told me about it. So Russ and I went over there and bought the car for like $800. It was crazy. And had the kids sign basically a bill of sale to us. We bought it, took it home. We knew it was too good of a deal to pass up, and got it home. And later that night, his parents were calling me, telling me that he couldn't sell the car. I said, well, he sold the car. We own it. We got a bill of sale, so you go talk to your son about that. But the car started out. Russ had a 326 small block stroker motor in his GT that he was running at the time, and we took that motor out and we actually put it in his car, and it had like a C4 transmission. And when we first started getting together, I actually built the car in my yard and put a plate kit on it and a C4, and we ran the car, went down to Red Springs and ran it. And I think the first time out I was driving it, it went like 630s or 640s. It was all over the track. We had put suspension on it, but it needed some work, and long story short, we did a roll cage and stuff, and the car ended up going low sixes. It was a 620, 630 car pretty consistently. Russ had the front end painted and added some purple, scallops down the side and stuff, which is really, really neat looking. Even today, it's still a cool looking car. If you remember the Smokin' Joe Camel cigarette ads from back in the day, that's the color scheme, the yellow and purple. But anyway, ran the car, we started dialing it in, and at the same time I was building up my blue car with the white stripes, and that car was supposed to run low sixes. So of course, Mr. Gotta one up everybody. While I'm out building my car, and it took a few months to get it together, he called up Bennett Racing, got a 351 stroker. It's like a 398 or something, 393 or 398 cubic inch Windsor motor. Stuck it in the car of Randy Haywood and didn't tell me about it. We show up for the race, and in my other video you just watched, episode 2, him and I go to Benson and show up. That was the first time we showed up when we had built our cars. He knocks out a 590 at 118 first pass, and I'm running like 620s at 113. Him pretty much covered. I was there with what he was running with my original combo. I didn't know he was going to go out and one up me. What a jackass. But anyway, the car progressed with that 351 stroker in it, and ended up going 560s. It was a consistent 560 car, like 125 miles an hour. Everywhere. We did a bunch of stuff with that car. We won a bunch of races with that car. At the end of my last video, you saw it do a wheelie at Rockingham. We were dialing in the suspension and getting it sorted out. That car's really fast.
Frankie Garano in the left lane out of Rockingham. The Rockingham towing the entry of Alvin and Chris Blackman.
Said 66? What's your mile an hour? 120? 122.
The reason I bring all this up now, because I'm about to show you the video I'm working on. And that was the aftermath. The aftermath was, Russ was working that day, so he wanted me to take the car to the track for him. So I took it, warmed it up, and they were gonna make qualifying hits. So I told him, hey man, I'll drive it, you know, no big deal. So I was gonna drive it on the first qualifying hit and then basically let him drive it for the next round, whatever it was. And I was one of the first cars that day to go down the track. Well, the track was green, you know, not a lot of rubber and all on it. I did a long burnout, just try to help. And the general rule that you'll learn when you drag race is if you ever get out of the car for whatever reason, don't get back in it. And I'd heard that, but I didn't listen to it. So you can hear it. I get halfway down the track, it's all loose, it's real squirrely. I lift and I'm completely out of it and I straighten the car up. But unfortunately, my brain told me to go ahead and finish making the pass, and I stepped on the gas, and when I did, both stages of nitrous came in and immediately set the car. It upset the car, started spinning the tires, and I guess I'd picked up some loose stuff when I'd crossed, when I was getting all loose before I lifted. And when I hit it, it immediately started spinning, and there's so much wheel speed, it turned right and hit the guardrail. And as soon as it hit the guardrail, it went up in the air and came down. I remember it was all like a flash happening so fast. I hit the gas, next thing I know, I'm up in the air and I'm coming down the left side. Well, I'm on the left side and I'm literally sliding down the track on the left side. I remember all this like it was yesterday. And all of a sudden I'm like, man, this is gonna be, I gotta do some body work on this thing. I can't believe this, you know, it's what's going through my head just that quick. And then all of a sudden the car turned a little bit like this. And when it turned, it caught and it started to barrel roll. And I normally don't get scared. Like up to that point, I was upset about the car. I wasn't scared at that point. But when it started flipping, it picked up momentum and that scared me. You know, you flip a car, you think it's gonna stop, but I was carrying so much speed. I was probably going 120 when this happened. It started barrel rolling and it barrel rolled 4 times down the track. And the last time it rolled, it ended up going onto the guardrail. It was a metal guardrail, not concrete. It hit the guardrail upside down with right above my head. And you can see it in the video I'm gonna show you, the roll bar. It was a 10-point roll bar. It actually came down and hit me in the helmet. And how I didn't get hurt, how I didn't break my neck, you know. There was a chunk this big out the back of my helmet where the nitrous bottle came out. It was in the trunk. It came through the back seat area, hit me in the head, snapped off the line, went back out the back window, was going down the track, spinning. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was a violent crash. After it hit the guardrail upside down, it actually rolled over one more time and landed on all 4 tires. Well, by the time all this happened, and I figured out where I got my bearings, I was back in the car, sitting there, and I was completely wet. And what happened, there was a little creek right into the track behind the scoreboard, and the car landed in that creek. Well, all I could think of was it was gasoline, I was gonna burn to death. So I immediately started getting my 5-point harness off and trying to break out what was left of the window because the tent was holding the window in. and I actually sliced my elbow getting out. I pulled myself out of the car. I pull up on top of the car because there's stuff all around me. I get on top of the car and I actually jump down on the other side to walk back up to the guardrail. And when I jumped down, I felt something twinge in my back. And I was like, oh shoot. And I get up to the guardrail and I'm sitting there and people are just getting down there. They're all freaking out. And they're like, did he get out? I'm like, I'm him. And by that time I was bleeding all out of my mouth. I had bit my tongue. I bit all inside my mouth. I had real bad rash on my neck from the 5-point harness. And my back was starting to hurt. And about the time you could hear my now wife and then girlfriend, Kelly, was videoing, and she like lost it when she saw me crash. And she gets down there and I tell her I'm fine and I'm sitting on the guardrail. Well, as you know, the ambulance down there is like a fake ambulance, if you will. They basically came down there and put me in the ambulance and took me to the gate, and that was it. And they waited for the real ambulance to come take me to Betsy Johnson Hospital. While I was waiting, I guess the trauma started sinking in and my adrenaline started wearing off. I was having trouble breathing, like you were sitting on my chest. And long story short, they took me to the hospital. I have a cracked vertebrae, number 7, T7, I guess, or number 7, whatever, in your neck. It was like you took a pencil and drew across the x-ray where it was cracked, and a scar on my elbow from getting out of the car. Other than that, I was fine. And literally the next day, I go to Russ's house and I video the car because he's trying to take off whatever parts, you know, before he trashes the body, what's left of it. You know, you feel worse about tearing up somebody's stuff, but it also hit me just hard because I built the car. You know, it's kind of a car we bought together and we raced together and we built it and all this, but I literally had all the build time in that car, except for the roll cage and the big stroker motor. Everything else I'd done on the car. So I took it like my own personal loss to myself. So I hated it. I hated the situation. It was a bad situation all the way around. And then I got hurt in the process. So I tell you all this because that car like that killed me. And when you see it, you'll understand why. And back then I was fearless. I would drive one. It was sideways, whatever. You see in my blue car videos from the last episode. I mean, that's just how 10.5-inch cars ran back in the day. They didn't have the suspension, all the technology we have today, and it was really squirrely. And you just got used to driving that way. You just stay in it. But whenever you lift and get back in it, bad things happen. So one thing I'll tell you, what I've learned after all these years, is if you ever get out of it, abort the whole pass. Just come back later and try to do it over. But I like to have died learning that lesson. Since then, the good news is, the upshot of all this, there's gonna be some cool footage. You're good to see the car and our progress and working on it. And he did a bunch of good stuff with it. I mean, I was really proud of that car. That car was awesome. It looked cool, still looks cool today. I'll be honest with you, between me and you, if I ever were to build another car, I would build a coupe and I would paint it just like that. You know, it's kind of that remembrance thing. Thing like to kill me, change my life, so I'd probably build one to have it here in the garage. But besides that, the upshot was we got another car. I built it up for him. He was in the hospital. I actually put the motor in, got it running. We took it to the track. We got that car running just like the other ones. The car was a mid 5-second car. He sold it. We got another car from Keith Zabo, and we ran that. We got a car from a guy named Jimmy down at Shadyside. It was called Sweet Pea. We bought that car. We took the motor out of it. We did a lot of good stuff later on, but this was kind of the beginning when we were forming what we call R&R Racing, Ryan and Russ and Ryan Racing. And we did a lot of cool stuff. We had some fast stuff back in the day, but unfortunately this car was a victim, and it was a victim to 100% for me for driving and not staying out of the throttle when I should have stayed out of it. But good lesson for you to learn. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, this was tough for me to make, but I'm gonna make it because I'm sure a lot of you would be interested to see. But make sure you got your safety equipment. You know, 5-point harness, the helmet, and the 10-point roll cage saved my life. So if it wasn't for that, I mean, I didn't have a neck brace. Should have had a neck brace on. Probably wouldn't have damaged my neck like it did, or a Hans device or something. But you never think about safety equipment till you need it. And this is one of those cases where if the cage hadn't been built as well as it was, I probably wouldn't be here right now to tell you about this stuff. So enjoy. We'll talk to you soon.
you feel even luckier seeing it?
Too quick by getting out of there, were they? Man, they made me stay there every night for that. Alright,
We did a race trying to get Nina, but they didn't know who she was.
It'll really bust your chops. Sure one. Now that would be different.
Just to let you know, I do it right. You can count on it.